Lewis.
Correct. Which Russian ballet caused a riot at its first performance in Paris in 1913?
The Firebird.
No, The Rite of Spring. What name of Hindi origin is given to a printed cotton cloth which is used in soft furnishing?
Pass.
The elk, Alces is known by what name in northern North America?
Reindeer.
No, the moose. Part of the island group Tierra del Fuego belongs to Argentina. To which country does the other part belong?
Pass.
In the world of antiques, what is a torchère?
It's a light.
Yes, it's a
On the
candle
wall.
stand. It's a stand for a light. According to Mallory, who was the foster father of King Arthur?
Uther Pendragon.
No, Sir Ector. In geography, I've just started soft finish. In geography, what Spanish name is usually given to tropical grassland lying between the rainforests and hot deserts of Africa, America, and elsewhere?
Pampas.
No, that's the
Tundra.
American. That is not the tropical one. It is savanna. And at the end of that round, Mr. Moore, you have scored 13 points. You passed on 4. The more common name for the groundnut earth nut is the commoner garden peanut. The capital, Kinshasa, is the capital of Zaire. The name of Hindi origin, which is given to a printed cotton cloth which is often used for soft furnishing, is chintz. And the other part of Tierra del Fuego belongs to Chile. Mr. Moore, thank you very much. Now, Andrew Panton, please. He's a Glaswegian, living now in Harrogate. He's a civil servant, works for the Ministry of Defence at the US base at Menwith Hill. Scored 6 points on the life and works of Christopher Isherwood, to be lying in joint third place. Your general knowledge question starting now. Who has been Chancellor of West Germany since 1982?
Cole.
Correct. Who was crowned King of Scots in 1306 and defeated the English at Bannockburn in 1314?
Malcolm.
No, Robert the Bruce. The tennis player Martina Navratilova is now an American citizen, but in which country was she born?
Czechoslovakia.
Correct. The ERM is part of the European Monetary System. What does ERM stand for?
European...
No, Exchange Rate Mechanism. Which American film comedian of the silent era became associated with hair-raising situations in films such as Safety Last?
Harold Lloyd.
Correct. In the Arctic, which large bay is connected to the Atlantic Ocean by the Davis Strait?
Hudson.
No, Baffin Bay. Who wrote the children's novel set in the English Civil War entitled The Children of the New Forest? No, it was Captain Marryat. The word dollar is derived from the name of a 16th century German silver coin. What was its German name?
Thaler.
Correct. The early jazz musician and composer Ferdinand Joseph Lameth Morton was more commonly known by what nickname?
Jelly Roll.
Correct. One of the great festivals of the Catholic Church is observed on the first Thursday after Trinity Sunday. What's it called?
Pass.
The Orient Express was inaugurated in 1883 and 6 years later made its first through run from Paris to which city?
Simplon.
No, Constantinople. The American short story writer William Sidney Porter is best known by what pen name?
Steinbeck.
No, O. Henry. What is the name of the desert between the Gulf of Suez and the Gulf of Aqaba?
Sinai.
Correct. Who was the Tsar of Russia when Napoleon invaded the country in 1812?
Alexander III.
No, the first. Preston is the administrative headquarters of Lancashire, but which city is a county town?
Lancaster.
Correct. In Scotland, what is a button ben?
It's a type of building.
What type?
It's wall and timber and plaster.
No, you haven't got it. It's a very small cottage. What name is given to the process of joining two metal surfaces by raising their temperature sufficiently to melt and fuse them together?
Welding.
Welding is right. At the end of that round, Mr. Panton, you have scored 14 points. You passed on just one. That was on one of the great festivals of the Catholic Church, which is observed on the first Thursday after Trinity Sunday. It is known as Corpus Christi. Mr. Panton, thank you very much. Now, Mr. Brian Doherty, please, originally a Liverpudlian, living now in Newcastle, a postgraduate student in mathematics at Durham University, specializing in elementary particle theory. Scored 13 points on the history of 20th century astronomy, to be lying in second place at the halfway stage. Your general knowledge question starting Now, in 1960, which archbishop became the first president of the Republic of Cyprus?
Macarius.
Correct. Who wrote the fairy tales The Snow Queen and The Ugly Duckling?
Hans Christian Andersen.
Correct. David Dinkins was recently elected mayor of New York. Whom did he succeed?
Koch.
Correct. Which Greek town, the capital of Macedonia, was the base for Allied campaigns in the First World War?
Salonika.
Correct. Which modern English philosopher and mathematician wrote, artists and literary men consider it de rigueur to be unhappy in their marriages, but men of science quite frequently remain capable of old-fashioned domestic bliss?
Russell.
Correct. In thermodynamics, what quantity has a symbol S?
Entropy.
Correct. In Shakespeare's play, what is the name of Hamlet's mother?
Gertrude.
Correct. Which Scottish town in Tayside is known for its salmon ladder and for its annual drama festival?
Dundee.
No, Pitlochry. In the USA, what was adopted by congressional resolution on June the 14th, 1777?
Declaration of
No,
Independence.
the Stars and Stripes. Against which monarch was the Babington plot directed?
Charles II.
No, Elizabeth of England. In 1819, who wrote the poem entitled La Belle Dame sans Merci?
Rossetti.
No, Keats. In music written for bowed string instruments, what does the direction pizzicato mean?
Played with the hands.
Yes, plucked. Which city in northern Italy is the capital of the region of Lombardy?
Milan.
Correct. In the French Revolution, which moderate Republican party was overthrown by the extremist Jacobins in June 1793?
Girondins.
Correct. The annual Iditarod sled dog race is held between Nome and which other Alaskan city?
Fairbanks.
No, Anchorage. Gold and silver articles bear hallmarks. What name is given to marks on pewter?
Pass.
In August 1913, which aerobatic feat was first achieved by Lieutenant Petr Nestorov of the Imperial Russian Flying Corps?
Roll.
No, loop-the-loop. Last October, the Commonwealth Conference was held in which capital city?
Canberra.
No, Kuala Lumpur. Which eminent British biologist, I've started, it's all finished, which eminent British biologist from a noted family became the first Director General of UNESCO in 1946?
Huxley.
Yes, Sir Julian Huxley is correct. And at the end of that round, Mr. Doherty, you have scored 24 points. You pass on just the one. Gold and silver articles bear hallmarks. The name given to marks on pewter is touch marks. Thank you very much, Mr. Doherty. And finally, Mr. David Steele, please. Born and bred and living in Carlisle, he's a local government accountant in the accountancy section of Carlisle City Council. Scored 14 points in the life and career of David Lloyd George to be in the lead at the halfway stage. The target you have to beat now is 24, and your general knowledge questions are starting now. In some animals, what is a carapace?
Wrist.
No, it's a hard shell. What was the name of Thailand before 1939?
Siam.
Correct. Bovine means cow-like. What does ovine mean?
Sheep-like.
Correct. What nickname was given to the minority of the Free Church of Scotland which did not amalgamate with the United Presbyterian Church in 1900?
Wee Fries.
Correct. In 1967, Donald Campbell died in an attempt to break his own world water speed record. On which lake?
Coniston.
Correct. Which Scottish football club's home ground is sometimes called Paradise?
Celtic.
Correct. In which of Shakespeare's plays does the lover say, "It is my soul that calls upon my name"?
Juliet.
No, it was Romeo in Romeo and Juliet. It was in Romeo and Juliet. It was spoken by Romeo. In the late 1950s, who was the overall leader of the successful Commonwealth Transantarctic expedition?
Vivian Fuchs.
Correct. In the geological timescale, what name is given to the period in the Paleozoic era when most of the world's coal was formed?
Ice Age.
No, Carboniferous. By what name is the African ruminant, the camelopard, usually known?
Giraffe.
Correct. Which 17th century religious work describes a journey from this world to that which is to come?
Pilgrim's Progress.
Correct. REM sleep is a phase of sleep associated with dreaming. What does REM stand for?
Pass.
What name is usually given to the extreme left-wing group led by Karl Liebknecht and Rosa Luxemburg associated with an abortive revolt of 1919?
Communists.
No, the Spartacus League. Which river rises in Colorado and marks the border between Texas and Mexico?
Rio Grande.
Correct. Which British monarch was the last Emperor of India?
George VI.
Correct. What is the name of the premier award at the annual Television Light Entertainment Festival held at Montreux in Switzerland?
Golden Rose.
Correct. Which British playwright wrote the comedies Fallen Angel and Design for Living?
Rattigan.
No, Noel Coward. A dhoti is a Hindu loincloth, but what is a dhobi?
Kind of bag.
No, an Indian washerwoman. Washerman. Charles Martel was the grandfather of Charlemagne. What's the meaning of his byname Martel?
Pass.
And at the end of that round, Mr. Steele, you have scored 25 points. You passed on just the two, REM, sleep, associated with dreaming. REM stands for rapid eye movement. And the meaning of the byname of Charles Martel was hammer. Mr. Steele, thank you very much. Well, that brings us to the end of a real cliffhanger of a second round, the general knowledge round, and therefore the end of this particular competition. Let us glance at the scores. And in fourth place on 13 points is James Moore. In third place on 14 points is Andrew Pantin. In second place on 24 points is Brian Doherty. But the last-minute winner with 25 points is the local government accountant from Carlisle, David Steele. Well, that means that David Steele goes through to the semi-finals. Our congratulations to him, our thanks and our commiserations to the other contenders in this evening's program. Well, that was the last of our 16 first-round heats. Next week, we begin the semi-final stage of this year's Mastermind. 16 have qualified outright, including, of course, tonight's winner. But as always, there will be an extra semi-final for the 4 highest-scoring runners-up. Well, that's all for this week. All that it remains for me to do now is to express our thanks to the authorities here at the University of Sheffield for all the kindness and hospitality that they've shown us. Next week, we will be at the University of Manchester for the first of our 5 semi-finals. Until then, from Mastermind at the University of Sheffield, it's goodbye.
In 15 minutes, Esther Ranson gives a young skater the chance to meet Torvill Dean. Now the news with Martin Lewis.
A promise that...
For 86, Smith not out 40 and Chatfield 14 not out. The Volvo Tennis Championships in Chicago, men's singles quarterfinals, Tim Mayotte of the United States beat Andres Gomez of Ecuador 6-3, 6-1. Ivan Lendl beat Kevin Allen 6-3, 6-4. Now some rugby union results, just in, Everton Larry 28, Rugby 38. Track and field news and more drugs allegations in the major games in the Far East. An inquiry is to be held after the winners of 3 sprint races were found to have failed tests. The Games Committee meet tomorrow to decide whether medals already won will be withdrawn. Another great win at Molineux, 5-0. What a day it's been for Wolves.
The sisters in a lather and the nurses hustle round. They're counting on the moments till the surgeon does his round. The spotless face, the porter smile, the patients give a cheer. Now stand back, everybody, 'cause Dr. Profile's here.
Morning morning, sister, morning, all, it's such a lovely day. Now can we get a move on? I've a round of golf to play. Well, hello, nurse, now you look pale. It's very plain to see. You need a little tonic, I'll prescribe a course of me.
Just watch the way he operates, the best without a doubt.